Welcome to Today with Dr. Kaye. I'm Dr. Kaye Whitehead, excited to be with you for another day to talk about some of the stories that matter. Today is day 3, if you're keeping count, of Baltimore City schools receiving an early dismissal due to sweltering temperatures in the classroom. We thought about what our babies are going through, and we decided to focus our show today on the word resistance, which is the refusal to accept or comply with something, the attempt to prevent something by action or argument. We are living in the age of resistance. From the White House to the streets of Chicago to what's happening here in the school systems of Baltimore City to what's happening with Colin Kaepernick and football. It's about resistance, people. And the question I want to hear from you is, what have you done today to resist the conditions that our people are being forced to live under, our people are being forced to go to school under? This is the age when you must speak up, stand up, bend your privilege, do something to move us farther along the track. Now, you may be wondering, where am I getting this from? Why am I talking about resistance? I want to go back for a moment. Just a little bit of the history here. In 1654, as the nation was still in the very early stages of growth and development, 11 enslaved men and women petitioned for and won their freedom and land from the Council of New Netherland. Now it's called New York. This was one of the first documented black protests in America. 1654, black folks were protesting for their freedom. Since then, black people have continued to be involved in an ongoing struggle to achieve either freedom or equality, or in some cases, both. During the American Civil War, as enslaved and freeborn men and women joined the Union Army in the battle in the South, freeborn women and men in the North were engaged in civil disobedience. So within the black community, let's be very clear. The question was never whether we should get involved in a resistance struggle. The question has always been, when do we get involved? Where do we get involved? And to what extent should we be involved? We come from a long line of people who chose to survive. And survival during the time of American enslavement, survival during the time of Jim Crow, survival during the time of Reaganomics, survival during the time of Trump and Black Lives Matter is a form of resistance. That's what we're talking about today. So since we know how to resist, and we're talking about the ways that we can resist, I just want to make a note that another day has gone by where our babies are not receiving any instruction. Now, I mentioned this at the top of the show, but I just want to kind of remind you of what that means. Because for the students attending those schools, their peers are moving forward. Their peers had schools today that were open, in good condition, AC flowing. They had instruction. 60 schools did not. When we think about that, we started reaching out to families of children who attend these schools. And I talked to a mom whose daughter attends Mount Royal Elementary Middle School. And she informed me that her daughter has noted for the first 2 days of school that she had classmates who could not breathe. They were walking through the halls coughing. She saw a couple of classmates actually crying because the conditions were so bad. Remember now, they close the windows at night. So when the baby's walking in the morning, they're walking into buildings that have been closed up all night where there's absolutely no air circulating. Now, I asked this mother, did you complain to the principal or to the teacher? And she said, why does she have to complain? They're in the building. Everybody is aware of how difficult and how challenging it is for the adults as well as the children. When I asked you earlier this week, did Baltimore City love their Baltimore City students? It's interesting because I was checking out Facebook Live and Facebook posts, and I saw one where someone says it assumes that they see our children as being human beings who deserve to be treated well. That is where the question is. We're going to talk later in this hour about what the air conditioning project status is that you asked about yesterday. We went and got that information for you. Coming up and later in this hour, we're also going to talk about Colin Kaepernick. Remember, the word of the day is resistance. We're going to talk about the Nike ad and the response of primarily white folks around the country who are burning their Nike tennis shoes, who are ripping the Nike sign off of their socks, who are burning their Nike T-shirts. I don't really understand it, but let's talk about it. Let's talk about why I could care less that someone who is against what we're standing up for, and it's not about the national anthem, it's about predatory police brutality. If someone is against that basic human right and need to be safe and secure in your own country, why should I care if they burn their Nikes? But we're going to talk about that because tonight is also the official NFL kickoff game with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Atlanta Falcons. What a great time to talk about the ways in which sports is directly connected to resistance. Think about Muhammad Ali. Think about the brothers, when they held up the Black Power fist. Think about Jackie Robinson. Sports and resistance have always seemed to go together in this country. Now, in the next hour, if we're not spending too much time on Colin Kaepernick, we're going to talk about the New York Times op-ed piece that was published by the paper from an anonymous person working as a senior White House staffer in the Trump administration. Folks, think about what this means. It has come to the point that people are writing anonymous op-eds to speak out against this madman living at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Are you concerned about what's happening in the White House? First, we heard from Omarosa. And some people, I'm not one of them, some people welcomed her back into the black delegation, and we listened to her receipts. Then we heard from veteran journalist Bob Woodward, who released excerpts of his book, Fear, that criticized Trump as a president and how his senior staffers viewed his competence level. And now there's an op-ed out where whoever this person is, man or woman, whoever they are, they said that they are part of the resistance working within. That's what has come to this country. This never happened under Obama or Bush or Clinton or Reagan, whoever you are feeling loyal to, past presidents. But we're at that point now where we have a resistance working within the White House to thwart the efforts of the person who was elected by some to run this country. We'll talk about that in the next hour. But first, I really want to share with you the air conditioning project status. Yesterday, we had Dr. Sonia Santelises, the CEO of Baltimore City Public Schools. We had her on the show. We were trying to get some answers. We did not get a timetable from her on the air, but we reached out to her and she sent it to us later. And I want to share that with you. There is a timetable in place for when schools are anticipated in getting air conditioning in their building. So if your child attends Frederick Douglass High School, they were supposed to receive air conditioners this year. But it says that project design has been halted by CHAP. Resolution has not been obtained yet. So if you're at Douglass High School and if your child attends there, be very clear, no AC is coming. It is not even on the docket at this point. Mount Royal Elementary Middle School, they're supposed to receive AC next year, 2019-2020. The AC project is in design, as well as Hilton, Henson Elementary School, Harlem Park, Edgecombe, Edgewood. Now, North Bend Elementary School, they were recently rescinded for cost inflation. So if your child goes to North Bend, they are off the table in terms of getting AC. I want to read a couple of more, and we're going to have this list standing by. If you call and speak to my producer, Justina Pollard, and you want to know about what's happening at your child's school, she should be able to look it up for you. Edmondson West Side, what is interesting is they're supposed to receive their AC 2019-2020. They received their contract at the board meeting that happened 8/28. Baltimore Poly should be getting ACs next year as well. It's going out for a rebid in September 2018. Patterson and Weston should be getting their AC as well. Patterson High School is actually part of the 21st Century Buildings Plan. Now, what I thought was interesting are the schools that are not slated to receive AC until academic year 2021. Franklin Square, Collington Square, Walter B. Carter, Mary E. Rodman, Curtis Bay Elementary School, Govans Elementary, Yorkwood Elementary Middle Schools. They're not going to get air for the next 2 years. And what's interesting, the last one I want to share, Baltimore Leadership School for Young Women, there's not even a plan in place. There's no date beside the name of this school to get AC at all. So we've been keeping count. Day 3, it's day 3 and counting. AC is not coming until next year, and for some schools, not for the next 2 years. Be clear, people. Your child will be suffering with these conditions for the next 1 to 2 years. That is the system that we're living in. That's why I'm talking about resistance, which is, of course, a perfect way to segue into Colin Kaepernick. The Nike ad was released. We played it yesterday. I want to start our conversation by playing the Colin Kaepernick ad that was put out by Nike. And I want to open up the phones, 410-319-8888. I'm going to ask a couple of questions because this is kind of a big discussion. What do you think of the ad? You know, the push by Nike. Nike's stock dropped yesterday by 3%. Empowerment Temple is having Nike Sunday, where they're asking their members to wear their Nike tennis shoes. They're also asking their members to buy stock in Nike. We have white folks who are burning their Nike tennis shoes. We actually have activists, young activists from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, where they're doing a GoFundMe page. Listen to this ridiculousness. They're doing a GoFundMe page, and they're asking any racist, any white supremacist, in my opinion, who is burning their Nike tennis shoes, who is ripping off the Nike symbol off their socks, to not do that. Instead, they want you to donate your tennis shoes, your socks, your sweatpants, your sweatshirts. Donate them so we can give them to inner city kids. There was something about that really annoyed me. Why do they think that our inner city children will take every single thing that the world gives them and gives us just because we're hungry? I mean, Barbara Jordan said that we don't have to eat every crumb that you give us just because you're hungry. So just because there's a white person who doesn't like Nike anymore because of Nike's stand with Colin Kaepernick, ship your shoes off and we'll give them to a young black kid in the inner city, because that's what we do. Got a problem with that. Let's talk about Nike, Colin Kaepernick, and the response that we're seeing around this country at this moment. This is Today with Dr. K. I'm Dr. K. Wise Whitehead. Stay right here.